Well, right, that was weird. The recording just stopped happening partway through. Um, I suspect my computer may have run out of memory, if I had to guess, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna delete that previous recording and go back to this one. Fortunately, I didn't actually discuss much in that, so I'll just start from the beginning. So what we're doing today is, yet again, coming over here to look into this, I'm going to give a summary of what we discovered last time. First off, which is that you'll see here, doing 2 attacks. I'm now going to change this, and you'll see me do 1 attack. And that attack will happen only when I land. So, we basically found an explanation for this, for the normal behaviour last time. The normal behaviour we now understand fairly well. There's a... So, basically what happens is there are 2 things which can cause an attack in the ground pound skill tree. One of them is a... and these are both associated with air movements. One is associated with the air movement that lifts you up. One is associated with the air movement that brings you down. Normally, one air movement will overwrite the following air movement. So the first thing to note is that the air movement that moves you up can only trigger an action on one condition. That is a timeout after 2 seconds or 2,000 milliseconds. Same thing. I don't know why I thought that these. Well, I guess I gave you more precision in one of them than the other. But yes, it triggers a. And triggers an effect after 200 milliseconds to 2,000 milliseconds, and that effect is an attack. Now, normally this should never occur because after 500 milliseconds, you get you move on to the second thing, which is you moving down. So that should never happen. Turns out it does, and the fact that it does turns out that it's doing it here, and the reason is a little bit weird, and that's the fact that interrupt does apparently trigger actions out of air movement states. Don't know why, but it does. With this, we basically managed to... There's also a slightly different thing I can do if I... Yep, managed it there, where I get the timing right, where I don't manage... Where I am in the air for... Or I'm in the, movement for 0.5 seconds before I get hit by the birds. And in that instance, what happens instead... is that I will then have overwritten the first air movement. I'll only have the second air movement, and that's why you could see me get hit once, and then after I got hit once, I landed over here, and I didn't do another attack. Now, what we're going to find is that if I go and jump on a bouncer, so let's just get up to take this ape down quickly. Hello there. Alright, switch out to this for optimal smashing. Don't need to. Cool. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on a bouncer, and this is going to change. What's going to happen is that for some reason, jumping on a bouncer prevents the game recognizing that I've landed on the ground. I thought previously that it might be more interesting than this. No. It turns out that is basically all it is. Also, cool fact, this does actually get you a little bit higher. It does get your character's hitbox higher, so there is a chance if I do this well enough that I could actually get that. Yeah, there we are. I've never done that before. Never tried to. That's kind of cool. But yes, so now I'm going to do the same thing, and you're going to see this. The game will not recognize that I've landed on the floor. That's not actually quite right, is it? Oh, apologies for, as always, me getting emails during a video. So a couple of things are different here. And basically it seems that for whatever reason, I guess it's the existing air movement gets mostly cancelled. No, so this does something weird with the skill tree execution, which is the interesting part of all of this. So specifically, what's happening is we see that first attack. Okay, that first attack's our first reference point. That first attack means that or the first, well, I guess that we also got the second attack, but as long as I go far enough forward, we should always get both attacks. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that we are we are getting hit whilst we're moving upwards. So that bit we understand. The question is then, why do we fly the way we do? Normally, if I recall correctly from like the theory I was working out before, what happens normally is that we wait 0.5 seconds, then the moving down starts to happen. And so that's actually the reason why I originally thought that it was just like once we got out of range or something of these guys. But no, that's not what's happening. That's not the condition which this is working on. It's literally that we then start going down again. That's not what happens. What is instead happening is, yeah, that when we ground pound, we are... yeah, that basically when we start coming down, the reason we're starting coming down is that we've started the second air movement, and the second air movement is what's bringing us down. So, what's going on here then? Because we should have started the second air movement. Sorry, okay, so what happens is we jump, we get hit during the first air movement. We definitely, in some sense, start the second air movement. That must be happening, because we get this attack, and that attack can only come from the second air movement. We don't... Well, I mean, something really strange to be going on with the skill tree. We could somehow be duplicating the first attack, but that seems incredibly unlikely. It's far more likely this is still coming from the second air movement. We've just broken the second air movement somehow. And the question is, how or why? Why has this happened, and why does jumping on a bouncer trigger this? So, we seem to... and there's also this note, this only happens when we do this, when we get an interrupt. I'm calling these interrupts. These may not actually be interrupts in the code. I haven't looked at how these parrots actually work. But yeah, so the question is, why are we flying backwards for starters? We should get pulled down to the ground by the second part of the ground pound animation. That's the first thing. Second thing is, why is the hit? Why does us landing not instantly trigger this? I suspect the answer to both of those is exactly the same. That in some sense we've managed to like get an error midway through the ground pound, and what the game does as a result of that is that it decides, okay, we're just gonna like revert to the timeout. The timeout behavior we can trust. Like, it feels like a try-catch statement. It feels like, okay, we know we can trust the timeout, so let's just rely on that. Everything else has gone wrong, but we know that we can still trust. And they do that in order to prevent something interrupting me and me using that to get, like, say I've just been given some health. If I interrupted execution before that health got removed, that would be fairly OP. Kind of want to just complete this mission quickly, and it's cool if I complete that mission solely through those jumps. But yeah, so that's what it feels like. But then the question is, why on earth does stepping on a bouncer trigger this? So specifically, what it must trigger, stepping on a bouncer changes the behavior of ground pounding, or it changes the behavior of starting an air movement after an interrupt cancelled the previous air movement. Something like that. We know we have cancelled. So is the special thing? So there are a couple of things going on here. Is the special thing that we had a previous air movement, or that we were in like an attack delay? Because both of those things are happening. When I'm ground, like, by definition, when I'm doing this, I was previously in an air movement. That's the thing that got ended when I got hit. And I was also in the middle of a 0.5 second attack delay before the second downwards air movement started. So are we doing something related to breaking the attack delay? Or is the... Okay, no, this is not breaking attack delays in general. I'm fairly confident of that. I want the easiest way I could test that. But if it's not... But if it seems unlikely to be something as general as an attack delay. It seems if that were the case, we'd have found this. Or people have found this before now. So I don't think it's that. What I think instead it might be... but the thing is, the air movement's also oddly specific. Like, that previous air movement is cancelled. That has been cancelled. We are now 0.5 seconds later. It shouldn't matter that we're in the air, because we should normally be in that air. It could, I guess, technically matter what game state we're in. I'd have to get Cheat Engine up for that, so I'd have to start looking. But that could be one thing that matters. It could be that on the knockback does put you into a different game state. And that is the same game state as bouncers, actually. So game states could be intricately related to this. So it could be that when you first hit a bouncer, something gets overwritten or something, or bouncers don't interact well with these. So this is... Okay, so we've got a hint. This could be game state related. And that also potentially gives us hints as to how we could replicate this elsewhere. Because in theory, maybe it's not just this particular game state. Also, did I do something weird there? Felt like I didn't move very much on that previous ground pound. I wonder if I... So I have had a theory in the past. Oh, my shadow's disappeared at some point. Classic. So I have had a theory in the past that you could get a ground pound where you don't ever move up, and that's just... That was kind of interesting there, actually. And it comes from just very precise timings. So that was actually really interesting there. I managed to do it again. Well, not the same thing, actually, but a very related thing. Which is basically... So this is an interesting bug. I don't see a way of abusing it, unfortunately. Well, actually, I kind of do. Let me think. Okay, so basically what we're observing there is the fact that I've known for a little while that when you have, like, a precise enough timing, you can... The game, it seems, will not notice that you're touching something. I don't know how to be more precise about this. So basically, when you've got an air movement that should cancel when you hit something, sometimes if you're precise enough about the timing of your ground pound, the game will not notice that you were touching something and will continue it as though you never hit anything, and you'll eventually break contact with the thing you did hit, and then the next thing you hit... There you are. That's there, I think. And then, yeah, the next thing you hit will actually trigger the landing animation. And that I've used once to get out of bounds in Nexus Tower. It happened a couple of times whilst attempting to get the imagination brick in red blocks. And so that's also... I've never had it happen with... I've never noticed it happening with these ground pounds. I kind of theorized it would be possible. The issue of making this useful is, of course, the fact that ground pounds put all of your velocity in the downwards direction. And you can only have one surface involved in this. If you have multiple surfaces... Oh, that's actually just an easy way of reliably doing this. If you just, like, walk up to this and ground pound. Actually, something quite weird happened there a second ago, if I think about it. Is it possible to... Oh, no. Okay. No, nothing weird happened. I'm just bad. Cool. But yeah, okay. So this is... Okay, so that's somewhat interesting. Oh, maybe I'm just actually... Well, okay. No, there has been at least one or two interesting ones with this. It could be that I was getting caught on the underside with some of them, but we have seen some interesting behaviours there. But yeah, so what is it that could be going on with the... Oh. I wonder if what's going on with bouncers... The thing is, this isn't related to just ground pounding on a bouncer. This like touching a bounce, this happens. The one thing which I can see as being interesting with bouncers is the fact that when you hit a bouncer, you remain on it for an incredibly short length of time. That is enough in certain instances to get a fairly interesting bug, which I guess I should start work on understanding now, because I think we've gotten most of what we can demonstrate over there. So I think I just want to head to somewhere which has a nice, easy, safe bouncer to work with. So that's probably Nexus Tower, is my first thought for that. I know there's the bouncer here to get up to the ninja area, but, you know, I've got to keep rebuilding that, and also, like, it's a long way to come back around every time, so I'm not going to go for that bouncer. Wait a second, I don't have to keep rebuilding that, do I? It is still a long way to come back around. I was thinking of the platform that gets me over to it, and you have to keep rebuilding. Yeah. So basically there's some weirdness that I want to explain. I'll try and explain what goes on the way over here. If you do a precise ground pound, at the second you hit the floor of, or you hit the base of a bouncer, if you do it right at that instant, you will get two ground pound. You'll get 2 ground pounds. I guess kind of now we know what's going on with that. It's the same. It's an identical bug, I guess. So what happens is so basically, if I had to guess, there's a short delay between the game lifting you up, or between the game like entering the air movement state and the game actually beginning to lift you up. And if you enter the air movement state and then collide with something which applies an interrupt to you or a stun to you, something like that, in between the two of those, before you start moving. So basically, you can enter the air movement state and get hit by an interrupt before you start moving upwards. The moving upwards, in theory, should prevent you getting hit by anything, and in that particular instance, it wouldn't. Yes, I am being an idiot, but it's worth a try. Oh, right, is this the one that just bolts you back out? Yes, it is. Okay. Shouldn't be. Can you just... Okay. Anyway. It's worth a try. So let's go to my standard bouncer for testing this, which is just through here. So yeah, this appears to work in an identical way. So you get the interrupt, and then obviously with this you have hit a bouncer, which means you then enter this weird bug state. Did I get that first time? Yeah, I did. There you are. And so because you've hit the bouncer, the game is moving you. So is it just that the game doesn't want you starting an air movement whilst you're on a bouncer? Is that just what's going on? The game doesn't want you starting an air movement whilst you're on a bouncer, and so from the second you touch the bouncer, it sets a tag which more or less says, okay, oh no, it can't be. Well, it seems to be like it's setting a tag that says you cannot use an air movement whilst in this particular state. You remain in that state until the second you land. And by the point you've landed... Oh, no, that doesn't quite work. Because, well... Okay, no, maybe you remain in that state. The game notices you've landed. It checks, it says, okay, because you've just landed, you've just hit the ground. It then says, okay, we should trigger the air movement. Do we trigger the air movement? No. That's all, because we've been told we shouldn't, because you were in this particular state. And then, when you do, and then after you do hit the ground, so now you have hit the ground, you jump, you land on the ground again. Why doesn't it trigger at that point? Well, it doesn't trigger at that point because each air movement only triggers once. or each action from an air movement should only trigger once then, or I'm assuming that's what happens. The game is like, no, we've already done that. That didn't go through, and then it moves on to other things. The only issue with that theory is that it doesn't explain why I can't do something else. Because there are a couple of ways I can break out of an air movement. One of them is simply by attacking. And we know that works because spring shoes. We also know that works because that's how ground pound cancelling works. I don't know if this is high enough for me to demonstrate, but I can give it a go. Oh yeah, so I didn't, it looked like I hit that, I didn't actually hit it, as you can tell by the fact that I continued to fall afterwards. But yes, okay, so this is high enough, and I'll just pick a better place to demo it. Didn't hit anything there, as you can see by the fact that I continued to fall. What happened is that I attacked to get myself out of a ground pound once the stun from the ground pound had worn off. I am not stunned from the second I land here, and I can attack. We know I can attack. So the question is, why doesn't that trigger the ground pound? So, I mean, I guess we can try and achieve this again. So this is also good, because it means that actually now that we've kind of confirmed these two use the same underlying mechanics, we know that we also know that the bug in what's its name in Gnarled Forest is actually just an easier way of replicating this, which doesn't require the timing. So having come all the way here, I may actually just choose to go back there. Yeah. And then I want to attack. That actually felt sooner. Attacking whilst I was on the ground. I don't normally attack whilst on the ground after this. I feel like normally it would have taken longer. Okay, let's actually... I'm going to test this out, see if I can get it once more here, then I'm actually going to go back to Gnarled Forest, annoyingly. Here we are. Okay, now that did feel... That doesn't feel like the attack was what triggered it. If the attack does trigger it, that is interesting. Arguably not necessarily particularly useful. So it could be that it's just, sorry, I should state there's a couple of things which I'm kind of testing for, which I haven't mentioned. One of them is the fact that I know this doesn't happen when you ground pound. But then again, when you ground pound, you don't actually... So it's not the... There are basically a couple of different things it could be which are triggering this. It is not the act of hitting Alt which triggers it. I know that because of how ground pounding behaves. I know I can ground pound whilst in this weird state. Although actually that ground pounding thing is also interesting. So I know that I can stack concurrent... Or it seems that I can, at any rate, stack concurrent ground pounds on top of one another. We know movement states should overwrite one another. This is weird, but at least we've got a framework to understand this in. Before I was lacking a framework. I didn't know, like, why two were happening. I couldn't explain that. We've now got a little bit of the basics. There's still a lot we don't know, but at least this gets us... Didn't wear the pirate hat. Rookie error. Well, that was dumb. Anyway, we'll just have to smash the ape. I guess I would have needed to smash the ape anyway, so it just means I have to get over there fairly quick. I mean, I don't have to get over there quickly, but it would be boring for you if I didn't. Yeah. That Strumbling Pirate just saved me because I was trying to hit that crate for the memes. And the Strumbling Pirate drew I'll use auto aim as being higher priority than the crate, which basically everything conspired to not let me do something stupid that I don't really know why I was doing anyway. Love that little shortcut. I was very pleased when I found it. Alright, let's go. Cool. Oh no, hello. I see what's happening here. And we've bugged out the 8 probably. Okay, that's better. There we are. Okay, cool. Yeah, we would have had to jump down here anyway, so this didn't actually take up much more time. So, yeah, it's now nice we can use this, like, officially as a test bed. So what I want to demonstrate is that I can get 2 attacks before ground pound, 2 on the ground attacks. So I'm just going to go 2. And I actually managed to place that precisely. There we are. Okay, that's demonstrated. So we know that attacking definitely does not cause this. So there is something, I think it's actually... I don't think it's the interrupt. I think it's more likely to be the particular game state. The particular state you get put in. That seems more likely than it being the interrupt itself. And the reason for that is because, like other things do the interrupt, I could never explain why it was only like certain things where the interrupt wasn't a problem. So it's definitely the interrupt, which is... Sorry, it's definitely not the interrupt, I think. I think it's definitely moving into that game state. So why is moving into that... Or I guess it could be something which occurs naturally as you move into that game state. That's very plausible. But if we think it is the game state... Well, actually, I guess we could test that. Because I can manually, again, using Cheat Engine, I can manually edit what game state I'm in. I just don't know if that... I guess it should take effect fast enough. The thing is it's a little bit dubious to just edit that, because I'm fairly certain my game state is reflected in a couple of places. They just aren't all updated at the same time, and I don't know necessarily which one is the one I should be updating. Right, there's also, I think it's here. There is somewhere you can get precise enough that you will bounce back into this as you get knocked out, and that like prevents you from going too much further. It would be very precise, but that is definitely possible. So in theory, you could stack this bug in some way. Don't know exactly how. I remember the thing I was originally doing when I found this. I was trying to get on top of the parrots. What happens if I run out and run back in, actually? Kind of hard to. If I do it like this. I felt like I got hit anyway, even though I was past that area, but I might be wrong. The reason, yeah, I think I did make it further out. The reason why I'm jumping there, by the way, as well, is because jumping actually does change your acceleration quite significantly. Okay, so... So I'm hedging my bets closer to this is somewhat related to the game state, because the thing is, it's got to be related. Well, okay, I'm going to say it's equivalent to the game state. Because that's the one thing that underlies all of this. There may be something else going on aside from the game state. I can't say that. But regardless, I know it happens at the state. The game state is a good indicator. It may not be causal, but it is correlated. And that's all I really need. But yes, so the other interesting things, yeah, it does abort everything except for the timeout. Wait a second, I guess I could check the logs. I don't remember where the logs are. I think they're in a similar place to lwo.xml. Which I guess I would also have to find then, wouldn't I? I literally, every single time I need to find lwo.xml, I go onto Discord and just search in the LUCH for the last time lwo.xml was spoken. I don't remember where it is. I never remember where it is. Well, I guess actually I could just... It's the most recent thing I've opened, so if I do a... If I try and save something, Notepad should try and save it to the same directory, shouldn't it? I guess open from that directory. No, apparently not. What about save as? Okay, yeah, there we are. That's an easier way of getting it. Cool, I will remember that for future, because that saves me looking stuff up. Okay, let's open up that place then, because what it could be is that this is actually throwing errors. In which case I'd have to find the logs, Lego software, Lego universe, should be a logs folder here, somewhere, log files. The last time this was modified was... Oh boy. That's a lot of logs. But they are logs up to a couple of minutes ago. Okay, so there are... So taking a look through these, I'm just going to read this out. Ah. Okay, we've actually got something interesting in here. I've got a repeated bug, or repeated thing being logged, which says that, and this is the only thing which is being logged for my character. There are warnings from other objects on screen, but this is the only one which is being called from my character. That's okay. This is interesting. We're getting an error which says the following: cancel air movement should not be called if the character physics are not loaded. Cancel air movement should not be called. Okay, I mean, this is good. We are confirming this is something specifically with the air movement. It also suggests fairly strongly that this is... Okay, how up to date were these? Okay, I think it might save on them. How often does this save? Does this file update itself? It hasn't updated whilst I've been looking at it, which I guess makes sense. Okay. Okay, so we've been getting some errors. With Betty over there. Okay, this is actually good. This also really helps confirm this is client-sided. Or at least it very strongly suggests it's client-sided. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is the thing is, I don't actually know precisely when the game saves stuff to the log file. So I'm just going to do stuff like ground pounding a lot. And so, okay, the time is currently 3:32. I am not doing anything which I think should be in any way related to this bug. I'm just going to keep doing stuff which is unrelated to this bug, and I'm going to try and do this for just a few minutes. I guess it could actually be. Oh, interesting. Why could I not cancel that? Did I just have really bad timing? That's entirely possible. Yeah, okay, it looks like it probably is just timing. don't know exactly how that works, but anyway. I cancelled that previous one really high in the air. So yeah, I'm just doing ground. Okay, so let's just say over the course of 332, I attempted quite a few ground bounces, ground pound cancels. See if that is in any way related. I mean, I'm now doing fairly badly. Okay, then from 333. So I'm basically just trying to see when we're saying what is giving the error. Why could the game just not respond to me pressing spacebar there? That was really weird. Oh, oops. I was trying to attack earlier. I didn't, but I forgot that I'm not meant to be trying that. I'm meant to just be doing this. Okay. I'm hoping that the log files will get updated relatively soon. Because I don't really want to do this indefinitely. In fact, I need to go at 22. But that's a really, really good clue. The fact I'm doing weird stuff and I'm getting errors is a really, really good sign. Because it just says something. It doesn't say what, but it says something is going wrong with the air movements. We know it's something the air movements, and more importantly, it's cancel air movements. Something like we know this is to do with the way in which air movements are being ended. And this confirms that something is calling cancel air movements, which is even more interesting. Like, that is a thing. Oops, I don't know if I'm thinking about it. It's 334 anyway. Okay, let's go back to log files. See the last time it was updated. Okay, last time it was updated was 331. So still not recently, but yeah, okay, all right. There was nothing. Okay, when I wasn't doing anything, nothing happened basically. So that gets us up to 331. Okay, so I guess the other thing I should do is relog. I guess I should just do that. Sorry, I'm not really thinking. Just relog like this. I meant reload into the world such that I'm not in the state, and I'm then going to try and do this again. Cutting things fine with leaving in 5 minutes, but you know, should be fine. Oh, this is cool because this is finally piecing some stuff together. If we can find exactly the condition. So the annoying thing is that this bug seems to be purely related to air movements. It does just seem to be a bug in the code, in the game code. The interesting thing is that it says physics aren't loaded. I don't know why. Why wouldn't physics be loaded? My gravity gets turned off when I'm ground pounding and the like, but why wouldn't physics be loaded? Because, like, even that would suggest that like bouncers unload my physics in some way. They don't. You can do. I've done quite a few tests which demonstrate that bouncers do preserve your physics, because that was one of the many things that I've kind of considered. So you can do things where you give yourself a slightly different velocity as you hit a bouncer. You can do things that break you out of motion whilst you're in a bouncer, and you will continue to fall as normal. So bouncers don't like overwrite your gravity or anything. They don't unload your physics. Collisions also work as well when you're in the bouncer state. We also, by the way, there was one of these a while back where I did this and the parrots didn't fly out, and I did see in the logs when I checked client-side error being like, mate, you don't have any parrots. Okay, I'm going to also see if I can get that one other edge case. Yep, that one. That's good. And that was at 337. Just trying to keep note of which bugs are caused when. Okay, we've got 2 of those at 337, so if we see anything occurring twice around then, now we've got to see whether or not I can remember all of the tests I've just done. Okay, let's go. So, go up to 331 was when I first started actively testing this. Okay. Why 335? Okay, 335. Some stuff happens. Don't know why. Okay, this is interesting. So, okay, wow. Nothing went wrong. Nothing went wrong at all between 331 and 335. And nothing went wrong with me. There were no cancel air. Nothing I did triggered a cancel air movement bug anywhere. I then reload in and out of the game. Okay, we're spawning stuff in by the looks of things. And okay, there's a lot of... Okay, it seems like nothing else I did retrieved this bug. So we found the bug, basically. That's good. We've looked for done everything to try and get this same thing. Like everything I could think of, all of the edge cases I know about in the code, I've attempted. None of them retrieve this same bug. So to confirm this, as much as possible, I'm going to go down, going to take out this ape, going to re-trigger the same bug. And we're going to demonstrate that once and for all, ideally, that this is that cancel air movement must be called with a physics object or whatever. I mean, I'm hoping that's what I find. It might not be what I find, but if I get this bug. So actually, what I should do is should test. Okay, so I'm going to need to count. So I jumped on a bouncer once. Does this occur even when I don't do this? Does this occur? So jumped on a bouncer once, hit this. Let's say bouncer once, hit this twice. Oh no, okay. Bouncer once, hit that once. Ground pound cancelled once. Hit this once. I'm now going to need to do the ground pound twice. 3 times total. The reason I'm doing that is because that encodes the results in binary. That's the easiest way I could think of to uniquely do that quickly. And yeah, I'm going to call this for now. We will see the results later when I check the log file, I think.